The following is a production of the Lance J Radio Network and Best in the World Sports, a division of Definitive Visions Multimedia. The opinions and views expressed are strictly those of the host and do not represent the views of Lance J Radio Network.
You're listening to Jonesy Brown.
Both you are crazy.
With Mike Jones and John Brown.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world famous Jonesy and Brown show. My name is John Brown. By my side is the man Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones. About to go. It's been a long week. Bye week is over. Eagles getting ready to take care. Eagles are going to take on the Green Bay. I'm not gonna.
Don't be disrespectful off top.
I'm not you. And now you even hear her voice. I ain't even introduced her yet, but let's bring her in because when we talk Packers, there's only one voice we go to, and ladies and gentlemen, that is the voice of Camille Davis from the Pack a Day podcast, all the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Camille, thank you for jumping on the show with us.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here. Last time I came through was before the playoff game last year when y'all completely just embarrassed Green Bay. So hopefully this time around it goes a bit better for the Packers.
You really think that's going to happen?
Listen, this is a weird Packers team. We're going to talk about it, but they tend to get up for big games, and I think they're going to be ready to play against Philly.
Okay. Well, let's get straight into it. Beginning of the year, you traded Kenny Clark, defensive tackle, brought in Micah Parsons, edge rusher. How do you think that defense stacks up against Philly, whose offense seems to be rounding into form at this point of the year?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge for Green Bay, and I think in large part too. Let's start here and just say that Micah Parsons pickup was huge for the Packers. He's been doing everything that you would hope that he would from that position so far. But when you look at this Packers defense, especially over the last few weeks, they've been getting gashed in the run game. And prior to that game against Pittsburgh, I'll say, they were like the top rush defense in the league, which normally you think of Micah Parsons, you don't think like, oh yeah, rush, but he's been solid against the run this year as well. Pittsburgh kind of dropped him a bit, and then the Panthers came in, and Rico Dowdle he had his way. So one thing that does make me nervous about this matchup against the Eagles, of course, is Saquon Barkley. Now, I know Saquon hasn't looked exactly how he did last year. I believe he only has one game of over 100 yards rushing so far this season, which was the game before the bye, if I remember correctly. So he's starting to get some momentum, and knowing who the Eagles have up front is going to be a bit difficult for this Packers defense. So it's going to be a test for them, and especially given the fact that their cornerbacks are a little injured right now, it's going to be a lot on the shoulders of the pass rush. So Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, and even just the guys up in the middle too with Watt and Wooden as well. Hopefully Wooden is healthy enough to play, but Philly's going to be a challenge. That's an offense that doesn't take too much to get going.
Is that still a question mark, Kobe Wooden?
A little bit. He practiced today. Kobe himself said, I'm playing, but you know how sometimes players, they talk on the side of their neck a little bit sometimes where they say, I'm going to be there, I'm going to do this. And then the medical staff says, no, you're not. But Wooden believes he will be playing this weekend.
Now, you said you believe Wooden is playing. What about Van Ness?
Van Ness seems unlikely. He didn't even practice today as we record this on Thursday. He seems like he might be another week or two away.
All right, well, let's look at the. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jonesy.
No, because you kind of touched on it. Because when I mentioned the Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark trade, the reason I mentioned Kenny Clark was because of how your defense has done against the run over the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
And the Eagles are coming off a game where they had 200-yard rushers, and your offensive line should be getting healthier after the bye. How do you think they even try to deal with that, honestly?
Man, you got to be disciplined first and foremost in all the gaps. You cannot be undisciplined against the Eagles. You also got to make sure you're containing the edges as well. If they do try to bounce it outside, it's just going to be like it's mano a mano. Like it's y'all against us. It's like who's going to be more disciplined, who's going to move the guy off their spot. And when they do get to Saquon Barkley or whoever else is running the ball, you cannot miss tackles. And that's an area early in the season in particular where you saw this Packers defense swarming to the ball. Guys were not getting away. There were not many broken tackles. So I think that's a big piece of it too. When you do get to Saquon, as challenging as it's going to be, to bring him down, you cannot miss those tackles because he'll take a 2-yard run to a 21 real quick.
Now you're right about that, and it does seem with the Eagles going into last week's bye, as it seemed like the running game was kind of taking form, but also the passing game is getting a little bit healthier. Trade deadline is come and gone, and wow, AJ Brown was still here, even though.
Is that a surprise? Did y'all not expect AJ to stick around?
Nobody in Philly thought AJ
Nobody
Brown
in Philly
was
thought he was leaving.
Nobody. Like, in fact, that was pretty much like the conversation here in Philly. Like, who was saying that he was staying? Who was saying that he was going? It was national people. People you don't see in Philly. People who are tweeting from Cleveland or Denver or somewhere in Mississippi saying, "Oh, I hear it in the locker room that AJ Brown wants out." And then there'll be a beat guy that's like,
he's miserable.
Yeah, he's disgruntled. He wants to leave. And then there's a beat reporter who's like, "I just came from the Eagles locker room and AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts were joking around, laughing in the locker room, all buddy. So nobody in Philly thought AJ Brown was going anywhere.
Okay.
But nonetheless, that's still a passing game that looks to be improving. How worried are Packers fans about the defense against that passing game?
Well, it's like I said, the Packers, I think with the defense, right? Mm-hmm. The defense came out like gangbusters in that first game against the Lions, and they showed up against a healthy Commanders team still early in the season. Mm-hmm. And I think that this Packers defense is now chasing the expectations that they set for themselves to start the season. Like we saw what they can do when everything is firing on all cylinders, when that pass rush is getting through, which covers up for the cornerbacks, which the little bit of a weakness for that Packers defense. It was an area going into the season where it felt like, all right, kind of not sure how this is going to go, where Keyshawn Nixon is your top guy who has proven like, hey, I can do this job. But then across from him, it was Nate Hobbs, who was signed from the Raiders this offseason, and then Carrington Ballantyne, who was on the Packers last year. And then they have a safety that they use as a nickel a lot, Javon Bullard. Mm-hmm. And that's the group they were rolling with. And so far, Nate Hobbs has been a bit underwhelming, and now he's also injured. So he's going to miss this game against the Eagles. So your top trio of cornerbacks is going to be Keyshawn Nixon, Carrington Ballantyne, and Javon Bullard. And that's trying to slow down A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, plus Dallas Goedert, who still somehow has something left in the tank. So I think for the Packers and the corners and the secondary trying to slow down the passing game, is going to have to start up front, and they're going to have to find a way to harass Jalen Hurts in this game, because if the pressure can win for the Packers, it should do so much else for the rest of that defense. But otherwise, if they don't get pressure on Hurts and he's able to just take his time, figure out what's going on and pick that defense apart, I think it's going to be a big day for Philly. So for Green Bay, again, it all starts up front, I think, with them, with Parsons, with Gary, with Wyatt. Devontae Wyatt's been a big factor for this Packers team so far. They're going to have to get it done. And I'm curious, too, how they actually play Hurts, because he is a rush threat. And last year when the Packers played him, they kind of played this scheme of like, we're not really sending pressure. We're just trying to contain him into the pocket. And I'm curious to see if that's a lever that Jeff Hafley pulls for the defense this year, or if they're going to actually be like, you know what? We got Micah Parsons. We're going to rush.
And you do have Micah Parsons. I just want to ask one last Parsons question before we shift to the other side of the ball. One, did you see that trade coming in? What did you think when they pulled the trigger and brought in Micah Parsons?
I was saying it facetiously. A lot of like, Mike, get ready to learn cheese, get ready to learn cold weather, get ready to learn Green Bay. And, you hear the rumors and everything like that. But when it actually happened, I was shocked that the Packers pulled it off. I thought that they kind of fleeced Dallas, in my opinion. I know it's two draft picks attached to that, but with a player of the caliber of a Micah Parsons, who age-wise also fits what they're trying to build on this defense around young players that they think can be centerpieces for years to come. You get a Micah Parsons on your edge. You have Xavier McKinney in your secondary. So you have two top guys already in two different levels of your defense. And then you have someone like a Edrin Cooper, who's in his second year right now, but has really been flashing. So like there's some star potential on all three levels for the Packers right now. So the Micah Parsons trade felt like, hey, this is gold, found gold. The only question was with trading Kenny Clark, how's the middle of that defensive line going to look? And so far, Devontae Wyatt has stepped up. So when he was out for a couple weeks with injury, you really saw cracks in that defensive front for the Packers. So ultimately, I think the Packers defense in particular is just a really delicate ecosystem. If someone starts to miss some games, it can really, really mess with the dynamics of what they can put out there on the field, particularly up front.
I looked to my partner, Mike Jones, because we talked about Micah Parsons often. And we're fans of Micah Parsons from his days of Penn State. Mm-hmm. And there's one thing that we talk about on this show often. It's about Penn State players that we love who then go to the Dallas Cowboys or any other team in the NFC East, which then forces us, we got to hate them. And once they leave that NFC East team, we can either like them, love them, like we do Saquon Barkley, because there was a period where we were forced to hate Saquon Barkley, and we didn't want to, but we had to. I see Micah Parsons now playing with Green Bay, and as painful as it is to know that as an Eagles fan, we're still going to have to deal with Micah Parsons down the line. It's absolutely hilarious that everything failed in Dallas, and it makes it funny. It's a bittersweet moment. Mike, you agree, right?
I mean, one, Green Bay is actually relevant right now. I mean, not that they usually aren't, but because the Eagles are in an era of football where they're trying to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. Any team who's relevant for the conversation, it's going to be problematic. So I still don't like Micah Parsons at this point. If they had sent him to the AFC, I could. Yeah. I still hate him. If they had sent him to the AFC or something, then I could have got over that. But right now, the Packers are in the way of what the Eagles want to accomplish.
No, that I understand.
That's fair.
Like
I could easily go back to hating Micah Parsons if he plays a part in keeping the Eagles from their goal.
Yeah.
Like he comes up huge in a game and then the Packers end up beating the Eagles and move on, then Micah Parsons is back on the hate list.
No, that makes sense. And on top of that too, like Green Bay and Philly, although we're not divisional rivals or anything like that, there's a history with Green Bay and Philly going back decades.
We see each other a lot, especially playoff games and such. Yeah, that's what I mean.
So I get why you feel that way.
It's a collision course.
Yeah,
it's funny you said, because I did want to ask about that, because this is now the third regular season meeting in the last 4 years for the Eagles, the fourth overall, including last year's playoffs. Mm-hmm. Right now, including that playoff game, Eagles have now won 3 straight against the Packers. Do Packers fans kind of view the Eagles as a rival? Or is that a term strictly reserved for like the Bears and the Vikings and the Lions, like divisional foes?
That's a great question. I think that you do look at the other teams in the NFC North first. Like for Packers fans, Bears are always that number one, despite whatever else is happening. Chicago and Milwaukee, Chicago or Illinois and Wisconsin just got beef and everything. So that is what it is. You got Detroit, who's been coming up. So there's a rivalry there because they've gotten the better of the Packers over the last few years. And the Vikings, that just goes without saying, also a divisional foe there. But there are a couple of teams in the NFC where it's like, we're not in the same division, but Packer fans do not like these teams. They might have a respect for them, but they don't like them. And I would definitely put Philly in that bucket. alongside a team like the Dallas Cowboys, another team for the Packers where it's like there's so much history between
hating the
franchises.
Cowboys is easy though. Everyone hates the
It is.
Cowboys.
It is.
Easy.
Like my Packer fandom started because the Cowboys was always beating the Packers, and my uncle was a Cowboys fan, and I couldn't stand it. So I was like, I'm a Packers fan.
You couldn't stand your uncle?
You said what?
You couldn't stand your uncle?
I couldn't stand when he talked during the football games. That's what I couldn't
I was about to say. All right.
I love my uncle with all my heart.
Understood. I ain't trying to start no family beef. No, I understand.
He's a Cowboys fan, so you already know how that goes, generally speaking. So yeah, I think that the Cowboys, the Eagles, the 49ers are another team for the Packers where it's like we got some history, some beef. Seahawks used to be in that list, but not as much anymore now. But I think right now, outside of the division, Philly's probably that biggest one.
So I have one question about the Packers offense. One question. Who is Jordan Love? Because I don't know. As a quarterback, who is he?
Jordan Love is a good quarterback who at times I feel is shackled down by offensive play calling. And I say that because to start the year off, before teams really figured out how to scheme up the Packers, you saw a lot of teams being like, hey, we're going to play one safety high and we're going to try to see what happened. And Jordan Love said, beautiful, do this more often, because he loves taking those deep shots. He loves throwing balls in that intermediate area. He's cut down on the turnovers, only 3, I believe, so far this season for him. He's been putting up some big numbers for the team. It's just that the offense as a whole can stall. And it starts normally up front with that offensive line. The run game has not been what it was last season. And the run game, the way that Matt LaFleur designs things, it helps the pass game so much. But even against the Panthers last week, which was a very disappointing loss for the Packers, a loss that then put the Eagles first in the conference here, the offense was moving the ball. Like, that wasn't the problem. They could move the ball. It's just that when they got to the red zone, it stalled. And they weren't able to put any points on the board. So Jordan Love himself is good. I think what's going to be a challenge for Love against the Eagles on Monday Night Football is that the Eagles play defense a lot of like what we saw from the Panthers, which is too high. We're going to make you keep everything in front of you. If you're going to try to score on us, you have to dink and dunk your way down the field, play perfect, don't make mistakes, don't get bored, and see if you can score that way. And in years past, Jordan Love would get anxious. Like he wants that deep play. And sometimes he forced it against the Panthers a time or two, but ultimately he is a good quarterback. He can win you games if you put the ball in his hands at this point in his career. I think this is the most steady I've seen Jordan Love, and he's actually healthy this season too, unlike he was last year. So he has been able to use his legs to scramble, to extend plays and things like that, which you didn't see from him last year. So ultimately, I think Jordan Love's a good quarterback. I think he's easily a top 10 quarterback in the league. A few weeks ago, there could have been an argument, hey, he's playing like a top 5 quarterback in the league right now, especially after that Pittsburgh game. But after Carolina, I know people are a little bit down on him, but ultimately Love is a really good quarterback.
I keep hearing you say he's a really good quarterback, kind of, not necessarily great, a good quarterback. So let me ask you, do you believe in Jordan Love?
I do. And here's the thing. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks. I don't use the word great for many of them in the league. Like, I feel like you got to be in a certain tier, but that's what makes this current era of the NFL so interesting. Like, you have like 15 quarterbacks that you'd be like, I'm cool if they start for my team. And you'll be like, we can go out here and win the game behind them. But them great quarterbacks, that's a smaller tier up top. But Jordan Love, I think, has the tools to get into that tier. I know he's getting paid like one right now, but he has the tools to get there. For him, it's just consistency. He has to continue to show it week after week after week. And I think I could call him great eventually. But right now, I'm going to say a very, very good quarterback.
And he has been able to maintain a level of health this season. Yeah. I mean, he started out last season because he got hurt in that first game with the Eagles last year. And I remember because I watched back our conversation right before the playoffs, and there were questions about Jordan Love going into that game. So he's banged up to start the season, banged up to end the season, but he's been able to stay upright this year. So you feel like that has increased the confidence that fans have in it.
Absolutely. I trust Jordan Love. That's the biggest compliment I can give him. And I trust Jordan Love to run that offense. He's a little bit more Brett Favre than he is Aaron Rodgers in the sense that Love has that gunslinger mentality. Like if you unleash him and he's able to just throw, he's going to love it. He's going to take some shots where you might be like, you trust in your arm a little too much right now.
Yep.
But that's part of the gunslinger mentality of like, it's the gift and the curse of it, where you trust in your arm talent so much that sometimes you make decisions because you're like, shoot, I can do it. I know I can do it, which can lead you into folly a time or two. And as somebody who grew up watching Brett Favre, there was a lot of that where you're just kind of like, great quarterback, but man, he'll throw it to anybody. And it might be the other team 2-3 times a game, but hopefully he throw it to a Packer receiver 3-4 times a game.
Well, he's got 3 interceptions on the season.
Yep.
So at this point, of course, you're loving the gunslinger mentality now, with the 3 interceptions. But I guess that's something that could change if he had a couple of more. If we're talking 6, maybe 7, maybe maybe that's a whole different story, right?
Could be. But luckily, like this season has been his best so far when it comes to taking care, of the football. So hopefully it's like a lesson learned of just understanding when to take those shots, when not to. So far, he's had the right type of composition when it comes to his throw selection. Again, every so often he's gonna test it. And sometimes it leads something positive, sometimes it's something negative, but that was a critique against Aaron Rodgers for years in Green Bay because of the priority he always had of taking care of the football. Don't want to put the football in harm's way. And sometimes Packer fans were like, dude, just throw it. Just see what happens. And Rodgers would be like, nah, I'm good on that. And that's not the thing with Jordan Love. He gonna throw it. He gonna see what he can get.
Well, look, I know we don't have you. I know we only got you for a couple of minutes.
I find myself yelling at Jalen Hurts a lot to let the ball go.
See?
Oh, look at you, man.
It can be frustrating on either side of like, man, just throw the ball. Or it can be like, okay, you got to stop. You got to see what you're throwing at first. But that's part of football.
Well, look, on the Jonesy and Brown show, we have an active ban on predictions. Don't do predictions anymore. That has been banned from the show. But what we do ask our guests for are expectations. So, Camille, what are your expectations for Sunday?
Let me just say, first of all, I love that. That more shows should go this route of expectations over predictions. I love that. And I think my biggest expectation for the Packers this week is to look like you belong. Look like you belong playing against a Super Bowl champion. Like you've had a disappointing game last week that you shouldn't have lost against the Panthers, but you did. You had a disappointing loss against the Browns in Cleveland. You had a tie game with Dallas. It took a lot to escape Arizona with a win. Like we haven't seen the Packers like handedly beat bad teams so far this year. They tend to, like I said, they can play down the competition to a certain degree. Then against some of the top dogs in the league, you see them come out with everything that they got real focused. And that's what I want to see from Green Bay this week. My expectations is that they bounce back in the sense of it's competitive. You're not seeing guys missing tackles. You're not seeing the offensive line missing assignments. You're seeing things being more sure. So that's my expectations of just come out there and compete. When people walk away from the game, whether the Packers win or lose, they'll go, they could hang with Philly or any other team in the NFC. And I think ultimately that's what I want. That's what I'm expecting after this game, because they got egg on their face after that Panthers game and they have to respond.
I hear you. I understand. Now, look, Camille, we bring you on to talk about the Packers. I know you also host a podcast that talks about the Milwaukee Bucks, and we haven't been able to get you on to talk Sixers Bucks yet, but that will happen this season.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
That's coming. But before we let you go, I know what your wheelhouse is. I know what your expectation, what you excel at. I know what most people want to get your opinion on, and I want to ask this. I got 2 more questions just to let you go before we let you go. All right, Camille, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Do you agree with the decision to put the World Heavyweight Championship on CM Punk over Jey Uso at Saturday night's main event last week?
I do. I do. I think it's Punk's time. When I was going into that card, I was like, I think it's Punk's time to just carry that strap for a little bit. I think the Jey Uso storyline right now, figuring out if he's going to be little Roman Reigns, what's happening with that. There's a lot of story to tell for Jey without the belt, but I think Punk, it's his time to carry that until they figure out exactly what they're going to do next and who that next challenger is going to be.
Okay. And last but not least, should Cody Rhodes turn heel?
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be beautiful whenever that particular day comes. Everybody's talking like they want the Homelander type of Cody Rhodes heel experience.
Mike Jones, you loving this wrestling talk, aren't you? Mike Jones, you're sitting back here enjoying all of this, man. I can see it on your face. You love this. You love when I bring sports people on to talk NFL, football, and wrestling.
Yes, sir. Cody heel time is coming. I think it's coming.
It is keeping everything from Mike Jones from not just hanging up on this conversation right now and going about his Thursday.
He's like, what are y'all on? Like, y'all still watch this?
True. it keeps taking everything to hold in the laughter. Like,
it's all good.
It's just so hard to be that invested in something I know is scripted.
But here's the thing: are you invested in TV shows?
It's scripted competition.
I mean, okay, so here's the thing with wrestling: how I always frame it, right? Like, it is scripted for sure. It's a television show, but the thing that makes it differently is that you can't fake certain things in the ring. Like, there are still athletes who are putting their bodies on the line for entertainment.
Absolutely.
Outcomes predetermined for sure. But ultimately, I watch wrestling as a TV show. Like, it's a TV show where they gonna talk and then they gonna fight, and I'm gonna be entertained somehow, some way, either through the talking or the fighting and the storylines that come with it. So yeah, it's not a sport, so to speak, because the outcomes are predetermined, but it's an athletic feat to see what these wrestlers can do in the ring nowadays.
Oh, I completely acknowledge their athleticism. It's just, as a kid, when I was a kid, we didn't know for sure that it was scripted.
Yeah.
And then the news broke, and it was just like,
it's like finding out there was no Santa Claus.
Right.
But for real, it was. Like, I had a break from wrestling where I didn't watch for like 6 or 7 years, and then The Rock came back, and I was watching, and then I haven't stopped.
Yeah, and I'll occasionally still turn it on. It's not like I don't like wrestling. I just can't be as invested as I was before.
That's fair.
I wish I could say that, Mike Jones. It has been straight through since Hulk Hogan.
So, you never had no breaks?
I never took a break for wrestling. I have always been a wrestling fan. And look, I needle Mike Jones because I always say that pro wrestling is the last real sport in America. You know, football is fake. Wrestling is real. Because that's how else can you explain the Green Bay Packers losing to the Carolina Panthers last week?
Hey,
that was scripted. That was a script. That was all script.
I'll say this.
Any given there's no way you can't tell me that Jaguars Raiders game wasn't scripted.
Hey, I'll say this about wrestling. I think that one of the underrated things about professional wrestling, especially like WWE, is that wrestling is always a mirror to whatever the culture is going through at the time. Like, when you think about like the 90s and the Attitude Era, and you think about like Jerry Springer and Maury and all these other shows, like, it fit what was going on culturally at the time. And wrestling has always been a really good gauge of what's going on in real life and also setting the tone culturally. So it's fun. I enjoy it. I'm trying to get my mom to watch wrestling more now. So she's been texting me every so often, like, is wrestling on tonight? And I'm like, yes, mama, turn it on.
Exactly. Look, we definitely gonna have you back around Royal Rumble time, maybe WrestleMania time. We're gonna
have you on Tech File. We're gonna do some wrestling.
Look, I'm waiting for that. I am patiently waiting for that invite. I will come through. Yes, whenever you tell me when, and I'll be there.
I got you.
Camille, real quick, just let people know where they can reach you.
Yeah, for sure. So for Packers content, you can continue to follow me on the Pack a Day podcast. I'm on the Monday audio side of things. And then after every single Packer game, I do an instant reaction video on the Pack a Day YouTube page. I also have a podcast called Ahead of the Pack. through Cheesehead TV. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcast at for Ahead of the Pack, where we preview the next opponent for the Packers. Also have Locked On Bucks Monday through Friday and after every single Bucks game, covering all things Milwaukee Bucks. I have the Technical Foul podcast, TECKNICAL, once a week podcast where we discuss NFL, NBA, and pro wrestling. I feel like I'm forgetting. And Locked On NBA every Monday night. I'm on that show where we cover every single game from the league on Monday. So I've been trying to be booked and busy. So catch me in all those places.
My God. Camille Davis is out here
Yeah,
grinding.
I love
My
it.
God. Put us to shame. I'm not doing anything tomorrow. All right. I'm not. I don't have anything booked. I'm not doing anything. I don't have anything else going on. What? She just came in and just put us all to shame. She's on about 17 different podcasts, man.
I'm working, man. This is how I eat right now. So I've been out here grinding.
I hear you. I appreciate that, and I respect that about you. Thank you, Camille.
For sure. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That once again, that's Camille Davis. Love her, man. Always a pleasure to have her on the show.
Oh,
man.
absolutely.
Definitely. Hey, look.
I got a question for you today, B. Real quick.
I think you, sometimes it's crazy that I
want to switch gears real quick. Because I want to switch gears real quick.
I know you do, and this is what I want to say before you answer your question, because I think I got a feeling where you're switching the gears to, because I feel like from hosting a show with you as long as we have because this is episode 98 of Jonesy and Brown.
Which really means more like episode 200.
200 of whatever show we've done together.
Whatever we had it named at the time.
Yeah. You know what? Before I make my statement, you go ahead and ask your questions. Switch the gears where we'll go wherever you want to go.
All right. So 4-0 in the first 4, 1-3 in the next 4. How are you feeling about your Sixers?
I was right. This is exactly where I thought you were going to go with this. First of all. Second of all, I will never actively call for the ouster of a Philadelphia sports superstar. I will always prefer to see someone who has put in years, especially someone who was drafted to this city. I will always want to see them play their entire career here in Philadelphia. And I don't want to see superstars playing in other uniforms. Thought Phoenix Barkley was a painful look. Denver Iverson was a painful look.
It was.
That being said, you get to a point where you realize there's more of an argument to the other side than there is to the one that you have. So you might not call for a team to get rid of a player.
Well, we haven't even mentioned any players' names. So you relax. You're comfortable.
Come on, man. We ain't stupid either, man. Come on, man. If I gotta say his name, I'll
we don't have to say it because we're not calling for anyone's job.
Okay. All I know is there's been a player who's been the heart and soul of this 76ers team for a long time. And it's starting to look like the game that the Sixers are playing has started to pass him by. And it might be conducive to the team's growth to move on. I would rather see them find a way to coexist, to continue to play, to continue to utilize him, because I do believe I don't believe that tank is empty. However, I realize that as the weeks go by, as the games go by, I have less and less ammunition to fight the fight for him. And it's going to get to a point where when people do call for his ouster, you might have to say, you know what, it is what it is. Just make it quick, make it as painless as possible.
Okay.
You know, I will say this. That Bulls game was BS. Of the 3 losses that the 76ers have on the season, that's probably the worst. That's the one I'm proud. That, like, the Cleveland game, it's Cleveland. So, you know, it
Cleveland's a very good regular season team.
Yeah, Cleveland's a very good regular season team. That, you know, that is what it is. But that Bulls game was a mess.
When you're up 20, and then, you know, things just didn't go well.
And games like that are what's going to take the, you know, that games like that are going to sap the argument out of you. Where it's like, all right, hey man, there's people that want this man gone. This team plays like that. Hey, how can you argue with those?
So, to be clear though, I don't think the argument anyone is making is that he's not a skilled basketball player. He's an extremely skilled basketball player. But
he's not out there. He's not out there just looking lost.
You're right. But one thing I've been preaching for years and years and years with talking to you about basketball is style of play and fit. And at this point, the way this team is built, there are a couple pieces that may no longer fit.
Yeah.
That's it. Doesn't mean you have no value. But at this point, I just think, even assuming health, just some guys just might not fit the style this team needs to play.
No. And I completely understand that. I think the argument would have been different if Embiid played like that very first game. You remember that very first game of the season when he just looked rusty, he shot terrible, and
but he also limited his shots. He wasn't looking to take a lot of shots that game.
Yeah.
He was a role player that game.
But I think people see what was he, 1 for 9 or something? His numbers were terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah. His numbers were terrible for that game. And I think but you saw how he played down the line in subsequent games where he put up better numbers. Yes, the offense still looked there were still issues with the offense in the subsequent games, but Embiid put up better numbers. However, that style of play kind of bit him in the behind against Chicago, which I asked you real quick, because I asked you early in that Chicago game, I'm like, are the Bulls frauds? Because here they are with the same record as the Sixers, and the Sixers are just handling them. But then by the end of the game, I'm sitting there like, maybe the Bulls are for real and the Sixers are frauds. You know, it's like maybe I was wrong about this.
So I want you to go back and watch that game, or watch the clips of that game.
Okay.
And a couple things happen I want you to pay attention to.
Okay.
One, when the Sixers are on defense, watch how often teams target the guy who's supposed to be your defensive anchor. They target to get him out near the free throw line and just blow by him. And on the other end of the court, when the same player gets the ball, watch how often the ball movement stops and people start standing around watching him.
Yep.
Because he's pump fake, jab step, pump fake, jab step, pump fake, trying to decide what he's going to do. And if he doesn't know what he's going to do, then his teammates don't know what he's going to do. So now they're just standing around watching. So those two things are usually bad signs when it comes to winning basketball.
No, you're right. You're right. And I guess for me, and I admit this is more fan speak than analyst speak, where it's like I want to hope that they can figure out some sort of common ground and they can learn to play together. However, reality says something different. I want it to be different. I hope it'll be different. However, this is a story where we've seen this ending couple of times. Plenty of times, brother. Plenty of times, man. I'll continue to sit here and just hope that things change. With every win, hope that this is going to be different. And with every loss, just dread the headlines in the paper.
And this team can win some games. We're not going to say like, oh, this is like a lottery team. They're going to win top. No. That's not that. But and here's the other issue with Embiid. He was attached to, synonymous with the process. So when the process started, you were a team that was exiting the second round of the playoffs every year. The goal was to become something more than that. And you went through years of losing just to get back to a point where you're losing in the second round every year. That's the unfortunate reality of the situation.
That is, and I think what is also unfortunate about that situation is that a lot of that blame will be laid at his feet. Where
and that is not fair.
It's not fair because it wasn't just him. It was a lot of
things that happened.
A lot of things that happened. A lot of things that happened. It was a lot of
Ben Simmons retired in the middle of a playoff game against Atlanta.
How this team was built.
Jaleel
who they chose
to Orleans Noel.
Yeah.
Dario Saric. You spent how many lottery picks on bigs instead of getting playmakers on the perimeter? And then what was the one thing I was screaming about for years?
Point guard.
We didn't have any playmakers on the perimeter. No point guard.
No facilitators.
No facilitate. And for a while, we didn't have any athletic wings either.
No.
Like we were just lacking on the perimeter.
We got a bunch of them now.
Because we took 3 years worth of top picks, like 6 or 7 lottery picks, almost all of them big men.
So I mean,
there was a lot of mismanagement in the execution of the process. In concept, it can work. Look at OKC; they basically did the same thing and just won a championship.
Yeah, but I think also you look at the moves that they made, players that they drafted, as well as acquisitions that panned out and didn't pan out.
And then you gave up assets to bring in a guy like Jimmy Butler, who you gave up a lot of assets to bring in Jimmy Butler, who then immediately left. You gave up assets for Tobias Harris, who had a solid run with us, but right.
Yeah, but I think in the end, right or wrong, Joel Embiid chose to make himself the face of the process. He was the one who coined the term the process. He was the first one to say, hey, trust the process. And he himself then, he chose to make himself the process. So I think in the end, he will be the face of it. He'll be the person that they all blame. He'll be the person that they say, it didn't work out and it's his fault. We both, you and I both know because we've been here from the very beginning. We watched it all play out. We know it's not all Joel Embiid's fault. But in the end, when has that ever stopped the narrative? When has facts ever actually stopped a narrative? So
then you went through how many GMs with all of their own. Sam Hinkie had a manifesto. Colangelo's
had a burner. Colangelo's were the ops. All right, it's their fault.
Right.
If we're going to talk about if we're going to put it all on somebody, we put it on the Colangelo's. That's a podcast.
I don't think Hinkie drafted great, but Colangelo definitely. And let's be honest, to date, Colangelo and Daryl Morey have a history of building slightly above mediocre teams.
Yep.
They don't have championship pedigree in the front office.
No, they do not. But see, right now, when the day comes that Joel Embiid is no longer a Philadelphia 76er, and you can make the final requiem, on the process. See, that calls for a family meeting. That's going to be when Roy and Adio and Javon and whoever else we can add to the. I don't even know how many total people we can add on this service. I'll look into
find out that day.
We gonna do it that day, man. We definitely gonna do it that day. Hey, look, you got anything else?
I don't know. I think we got to it.
Okay, well, look, man, we'll see where we are with the Sixers come next week. Expectations for Eagles Monday night, coming off the bye week.
I think the bye week was probably the best thing to happen to the Eagles coming at the time where it did. Give your offensive line time to get healthy. I expect them to look like the bullies of football that they more. I expect this week the Eagles will look the most like the Eagles we've expected all year.
I hear you.
That's what I expect.
No, I see. Once again, we on the same page, brother. We on the same page. I was pretty much about to say the exact same thing.
Just remember, Cam Jurgens had back season, off season, in the off season, back surgery. Dickerson had his knee done right before the season, came back earlier than we expected.
Yep.
And then Lane got banged up early. So I think the bye week gave these guys a real good chance to get back to as close to right as you can be in the middle of an NFL season.
I think these acquisitions that they made brought. I don't believe it's the type. It's a season turning acquisition. Like, I'm not sitting there going to say, "Oh man, we brought in Jair Alexander, Super Bowl." It's not like that. But it's like, I think it adds.
If he's healthy, and if Jalen Phillips are healthy,
it adds depth.
They could be if the two of them are healthy. It could be more than just depth. They could be real playmakers.
Okay, well, we'll see, man. Right now, I just want to see some depth. I want to see, I want to see an Eagles team that gets back to battling and winning the battles in the trenches. That's what I want to see on both sides of the ball. I want to see, as you say, I want to see a little more violence. That's what I'm down for. I hope this Eagles team chooses violence on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you tell us what you think of today's show. You hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or X at Jonesy Brown or at BITW Sports. Remember to go to BITWsports.com. You can download our podcast wherever you feel like downloading the podcast. All the links are there. They're right there. You can just click on them and just, get Jonesy and Brown and listen to us all the time. You can do that. Also check us out on the Landscape Radio Network on HUR Voices. That's channel 141.
Mm-hmm.
When we get on that show, they'll put us on sometimes. Shout out to Landscape Radio Network. You check us out. All right, y'all have a good week. Enjoy the weekend of sports. Final thoughts from Mike Jones.
Nope, I'm not even gonna say it.
You're not gonna say it. All right, well, either way, man, I appreciate you, good brother. You have a good weekend. Everyone have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you guys next time on the Jonesy and Brown Show. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
This podcast is a production of Best in the World Sports, a division of Definitive Visions Multimedia. To subscribe, download, and follow on social media, go to bitwsports.com. You're listening to Jonesy and Brown.